We are live.
We're back.
Launch Radio, Geoff and Kira live. Episode 39. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy, just chaotic 2020. Kira, it has been a year.
Oh my gosh. It's like every day.
Yeah.
There's
every
something
day.
Going on.
Like, every day.
It's kind of a lot to handle, actually.
I feel like it's just been, overwhelming for a lot of people. I think because there's just so much out in the atmosphere as far as just everything.
Yeah.
It's an election year, and so people are just it's chaotic, and, everybody has their opinions, but it's made things quite a...
Yeah, it's interesting to see if you're able to take a step back and just look at how society is dealing with each other.
Yeah.
And it's just this constant push-pull, we're trying to figure out a common middle, and then others want to separate. It's really interesting from like a sociology perspective. To watch the shit show.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I personally don't like to be in it because I'm just like overwhelmed with so much like anxiety from everyone. The air is thick.
Yeah.
Everyone's angry. Mm-hmm. Everyone's resentful, and it's like, oh my God.
I think that, everyone's really has like an edge with everything that's going on. And I think the one thing to keep in mind just while all this happens is a big reason for it happening is technology and social media. And because information is traveling so fast.
Yeah.
And as recently as 20 years ago, information couldn't, probably recently as 10 years ago, even
5 years. I mean, shit.
Things couldn't travel that fast.
Right.
And because the rate of information is going so much quicker, it's upping the fuel and energy in people's brains of like, all the angst is coming faster.
Right.
And so it causes, when there's debate or issues in the world, right, it causes the temperature to go like up much faster than it did, 20 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that technology and social media are a big contributor. And I think that today, what we're going to discuss plays right into it. And I titled the episode, the podcast, "What is Cancer Culture?" Yes, I know there's cancel culture. Cancel culture's happening, but what is cancer culture? Cancer, cancel, cancer, cancel. Say that 10 times.
That's so hard. You just actually did that really well.
Cancer, cancel, cancer, cancel, cancel. Okay, cool. Quite complicated. So I wanted to discuss this, and I think we both have do you want to, what is your opinion of what's happening in the world with everything that, is being called cancel culture? People are being, apparently what's, quote, canceled left and right.
Right.
What is cancel or cancer, which however you want to say it, but what is cancel, we'll call it cancel for now. What does cancel culture mean to you, and where, in what realms of society do you think that's happening, and what are the off-puts of it?
I think originally the premise of a cancel culture was when you would come across a business that was being misogynist or was being racist, and the social mob, of morality would come and say, hey, you're done. You're canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the company would issue an apology, and it's not enough. The apologies are not enough in this culture anymore. There's a serious mob mentality of going after people and wanting more. And there seems to be like this, cancel culture is partly of how we treat each other,
mm-hmm,
and partly of the frustration of not getting or any real lack of consequence. You see all these powerful people getting away with so much stuff for so many years, and I think people are so fed up
mm-hmm,
that it turns into this, your apology is not enough, and I'm going to cancel you. And then all of a sudden the mob says, yeah, me too. And then all of a sudden you've got, thousands of people and hundreds of thousands of people that are gang up, and social media is a perfect right medium to use as a cancel. And I think it used to be with famous people, and now it's people are doing it to one another.
Okay,
know?
but yeah, okay, so that's happening. But okay, so at the beginning you said something about a business. Like, how did they used to do it? You said with like in the olden days, is that what we call it? Like the olden days?
Well, how old are we going?
Well, okay, let's start in like the 1950s and 1960s.
I don't know if people canceled things.
How did you cancel somebody in 1950?
I don't think you did.
Nobody got canceled. So did people, if somebody wanted to, what was canceling? Was that just considered like people going after people physically?
Or they just stopped going to that business and like, you know what, the guy's kind of a jerk. I'm just not going to shop there anymore.
And they moved on.
And they moved on with their life. But now it's, well, I'm going to use social media as the platform in order to literally burn down this business, either literally or figuratively. You know?
So it's social media that's allowing the canceling, or like allowing this to happen.
It's a platform. We are the ones who are in control of our actions and our choices. We're choosing to use this platform in order to grandstand and say, I'm hurt, and I'm going to make you hurt worse by
that's what
ruining
people
you.
do. Okay.
That's what people are doing.
Because there's even different frames of cancel. Because some cancel to some people, cancel to some people would mean like cancel the person, get them out of society, send them to jail, send them for whatever they did. Like that's one form. And then the other form of it is just cancel somebody, meaning like kick them off a platform. Like make them, like not send them to jail, but kick them off of Twitter or YouTube or whatever social media so that they can't have a voice.
And that's, I think you hit right on the head. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just like hitting you.
That's what we do.
You hit it right there on the head. It's, I want a consequence. I want people to pay for whatever they did, and it's, whether that's kicking you off something, whether it means going after you and ruining your livelihood, whether it means whatever it is, I want justice. I feel threatened. I fear you.
Yeah.
You've hurt me. I want justice. Whatever that looks like, in whatever capacity.
In the eyes of the canceller.
In the eyes of the canceller, whether the person being canceled did really anything wrong or not.
So canceling can just be like, I'm going to report you to Twitter.
It could mean something simple as,
because I don't agree with your political beliefs, so I am going to report. Right. I'm going to report this tweet. Yes. Because you said that you something about politics or something, and that person doesn't agree with it. So I am reporting this tweet to Twitter. That's what would happen.
That's one form, and then it goes very extreme.
Yeah.
Where you've got celebrities who are worried about cancel culture and they're worried about saying anything.
Celebrities.
Yes.
So celebrities have more to worry about than the regular.
I think so, for sure. You've got a whole brand, a whole enterprise behind your name. And should you say something that's going to piss someone off, which is a natural thing that will happen because you can't just be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
People are quick to being like, your apology's not enough. I want you to hang. And it's like,
to hang
or whatever it is.
Like
it's a very pitchfork witch hunt out there,
And okay, so people talk about the mob. So what does that mean? So there's a mob of cancelers, but all the cancelers aren't on the same side, right? There's some cancelers. Everybody has their own definition of what the mob is.
Well, right? Here's the thing: humans have a herd mentality.
Yeah.
If you, for example, Geoff, you're walking down the street on Hollywood, and you're just going to go get a sandwich at the local deli, and you see 1,000 people bolting and screaming the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you keep walking, or are you like, oh my God, should I be running? Because there's obviously something going on, right?
You mean if I'm going to my local, like to get a soda or something? Yeah. Like if I'm walking to the deli and I see a crowd. And
they're not angry. They're like screaming for their lives. Something bad is happening up there.
Up where?
Wherever they're coming from.
Oh, they're just screaming.
They're just screaming and running. Think of a movie.
I would be confused.
Right. And you'd be like, wait, I need to find out why they scream. And then you start running because you're just like.
With them.
Well, of course, because you're like, they're fearing for their life, so I'm going to fear for mine. That's kind of how the mob mentality works, where it's like, yeah, you're right, that person is wrong. And then another person's like, yeah, I agree. And then, yeah, I agree. And this herd mentality happens.
Why are we herd mentality like that?
Because it's safe.
But can't people think their own thoughts about things? Or do they just jump on the bandwagon?
They jump. There are a very big majority that like to jump. That are like, yeah, that's right. And I have a purpose and I have a voice, even though it may not be mine.
That doesn't make any sense.
Of course not. But humans by nature are stick together. We're social beings. That's how we survive, you know? Yeah. And we do the things that we see other people are doing. And we're like, oh, yeah, okay.
We do. And Johan says, cancel culture is toxic. People should worry about what they're doing for themselves and stop worrying about what somebody else is doing.
Yeah, 100%.
And he says it's the main reason he doesn't like social media. So that's
social media has really turned into like a breeding ground of hell. I mean, I'm getting exhausted by Facebook. I've noticed that, you know, you can see, who was the latest? Was it Pepsi? No, it was Verizon. They're the latest advertiser to pull all their advertising from Facebook.
Okay.
So now
why are they doing that?
Because they don't like how Facebook is allowing the political ads, and they're not taking a stance, whereas Twitter takes a stance. So then it's like, Facebook's turning into this like dark alley where people just rage.
Wait, so people can say whatever they want on Facebook?
Pretty much.
Politically or whatever, while Twitter is now doing some policing of things.
For them to police the president of the United States.
Yeah. They're doing policing.
You know?
So this brings up the question of, you know, which we've touched on before, which is how much should be allowed as far as people having different opinions on things. Now, it seems the platforms are mixed up as far as just political belief, because I hear people liking and disliking different platforms. Facebook made an announcement today they're going to start policing, I think, didn't they?
Well, they have to, or everyone's going to abandon it.
Yeah.
It's turning into a dark web.
Facebook.
I think it's gross what's going on there.
Do you believe that that free speech is free speech, and that everybody should be able to say what they want on social media, and not get canceled or punished or whatever for it? Or do you believe that there should be some type of policing going on?
I think as a platform, when you create an environment where people can just say whatever they want, that can breed a lot of negativity. And when you create a platform for all kinds of humans from all kinds of cultures from everywhere coming together, you have a moral obligation to create a safe environment. And if you are allowing people, and essentially social media platforms are changing and transforming the way we treat each other. And they realize this. That's power. It's a ton of power they have. Society's changing because of social media.
Yeah.
Because of an algorithm. I mean, it's bizarre to think.
I mean, yeah.
So yes, absolutely. They have a moral obligation because they are the reason why we are changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've talked about it in the past. I feel like, so because of what we said at the beginning, which was, you know, you see these changes happening with platforms and such, and canceling going on, but because information's traveling faster and that all this is happening faster,
right?
The problem we're having is we're not able to have some type of rules with this stuff that's like universally kind of accepted. Like when the Constitution was written, it was like universal rules that kind of everybody went in on, because they could each side could police each other, kind of, you know, everybody could keep things in check. And I feel like there needs to be a system of checks and balances somehow within that, where people can, you know, keep each other in check as far as what's allowed.
I think so too. It's been
and what's not allowed.
It's been, hey, because there's so much freedom. There's too much freedom.
Yeah.
There needs to be some sort of code of conduct,
right,
that we all universally agree upon. And you would hope that you, Geoff, and everyone else and myself when you wake up, have a personal code of conduct of how you present yourself. You know, not everyone has that, or they think they do, and they're standing up for themselves. Even though they're bashing another human being, that's their personal code. There needs to be someone saying, that's not right. That's not the society we want.
Right.
You know?
So in the 1700s, when was America founded, or when was all that happened? 1700s?
1774.
Okay. So this was happening in real time, physically, because there was no Apple or no Twitter in 17 whatever.
There'd be mobs.
And so people were saying, and there probably were mobs. Of
course there was.
And so people
Boston
were saying,
Tea Party.
People were saying, we need some type of, they literally said what you just said.
Right.
We need some type of thing to keep things under control here.
Right.
And because it was literally getting out of hand as far as just what people were doing to each other and just the crime.
You need some sort of moral guidance of some sort. You know, we've touched on it before, and I think the lack of having any sort of spirituality or religion or something that holds the glue together, something that holds people together, the act of forgiveness and moving on is gone.
So that's okay.
That's where the cancel culture comes from.
So that's a big piece of it.
Yes. I refuse to forgive you. I want you to hang. And it's like, so to me personally, what I believe cancel culture is two camps. One camp that says, yes, people can change and I can forgive you and I can help you grow.
Okay. That's one group, right?
And then the other group that says people don't change, which is ridiculous. But that group is the cancel culture group, where they are so resentful, so angry, so hurt, so whatever, triggered, that they refuse an apology, refuse to move on, refuse to forgive. They're so angry. It's like visceral nightmare right now of people not being able to move the F on. You know? They get stuck. They're really stuck in this, like,
what do you think?
I want to hold this burden all the time.
Like, what do you think forgiveness, like, how do you define forgiveness? What does that mean? What does forgiving somebody mean?
I mean, I think personally, if I forgive someone, that means not so much, yes, I say, yes, I forgive you, you know, however the person apologized, however it came across, however humbled they are, the forgiveness comes from you inside. You have to forgive the person through and through.
I heard somebody say once, forgiveness is giving up all hope of a better past.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Great, right?
You should have just said, you know what? I have something magical to say.
Be or not to be.
To mask or not to mask.
I heard somebody say today, are the cases of coronavirus going up because, what was it? There's more cases happening because are there more coronavirus cases happening because we're testing more? Or is there more testing happening because there's more cases? To be or not to be? We're in a paradoxical society, folks. Nice leeway. But anyway.
The forgiveness part is a really tough thing for people right now. They refuse to forgive. And now that doesn't mean, okay, I forgive someone and I'm not hurt still. You can still feel pain, but that's up to you to work through the pain. And that doesn't mean
giving up.
It doesn't mean that when you forgive someone, that means you're accepting their behavior, two, that you have to go to their business or that you have to support them. It's just allowing the burden off of you.
Off of you. Right.
It has really nothing to do with them. You allow the forgiveness.
You let it go.
You let that shit go. So you don't carry around a gigantic big rock of resentment and anger. And you're like, I hate everyone. I hate men. I hate raw. And it's like, nobody wants to be around that. And that doesn't change society. It just makes you a really bitter, angry person. And nobody likes that. It's not a good look for anyone.
So that's that. and so with this forgiveness thing, I think it is interesting. And by the way, Will Culpepper, wow, he gave us $10. That's great. It's very nice of him.
Oh, thank
Will
you. Well,
Culpepper,
that's awesome.
thank you. Cancer culture to me is the fact that I have friends of different races that treat me differently now because I'm white. Very sad. I've never had a problem with anyone before this. Thank you, guys. I mean, everything that's happening in society right now, is...
I think it's silencing people to where they don't, if they say one word that's out of context, you're now a racist, you're canceled, you're a Karen, pick a word, and it's duct tape. It's virtual duct tape that we're putting on people and saying, nope, you said it wrong. And even if you're like, I'm sorry, I probably said that wrong. I didn't mean it that way. Nope, canceled. And you're written off.
Yeah.
And it's like,
who made you the authority of the morale test that everyone must take? And when you don't get an A on morality, you seem to just, you get to go into the camp of all the people that need to go to jail, and I mean, it's ridiculous.
And so I think a piece of this, part of this, obviously the forgiveness element is a big part of it, which we're discussing now. But I wanted to touch on, there eventually needs to be some type of, I don't know if it's standard society sets. I don't know, because if the person's done something really wrong, then I'm empathetic to the person being upset with that person. If they've really done something really wrong.
Of course,
right?
But when do you, as an individual, say, okay, I'm going to let this go? And not for you, but for me?
Yeah.
Because I can't carry this anymore.
Right.
Because if you carry it, you're now allowing your emotions to go completely out of control. And you then form these gangs, right? And it becomes a girl gang, and I hate this culture, or what? Sorry, those are my dogs, by the way. It's all like cancel this, cancel that, I will never forgive, never forget, all of that kind of stuff where it's like, why would you want to carry that?
Yeah.
It's so heavy.
I think that, so it depends. And I think that there is an element of that. I think it obviously depends on what we're discussing, what exactly it is and what is the scale of it and everything. But one thing is one of the big elements of cancer culture is when somebody says something that is offensive, or they say something by accident, or it's in the media, because we all make mistakes. When somebody says something and then people rip into that person about that, okay? That's one layer of cancer culture, because literally that's not like a grudge of some type. That's something that's just happened, like in the moment.
Right.
So somebody will say one thing, like one sentence or something, like accidentally, or they'll be taken out of context, or whatever.
Or you're a human being.
And you make mistakes.
And you make mistakes.
With
Shocking.
your words and such.
Yeah.
And so when that happens, oftentimes, especially celebrities, society will go after that person.
Oh, 100%.
And
Lynch mob.
and they'll try to cancel that person or whatever.
100%.
And so, so when that happens, one thing that Scott Adams has discussed, which I don't know if we've ever touched on this before, is the 48-hour rule, which is if somebody says something accidentally, it's a mistake, they didn't mean to say, that person has 48 hours to come back and say, I screwed up. I didn't mean to say that. I'm very sorry. And I just screwed up. And if they come back and give an apology, that person should be forgiven. That's
really interesting because, I'm personally dealing with like this cancel culture thing, not of me, but of a place that I attend. Mm-hmm. And they're going through a hellish time with this cancel culture. And they're super angry that they're not getting the mob that's going after this club, is asking for an apology, even though that's not enough. But they're saying it's been too long now. It's only been 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like if you don't do it right away, then it's you're already canceled.
You should have 48 hours to be able to do that.
I think it's a good role.
And even if on the other end you see the apology, the person apologizes, and you don't think the apology is genuine, you're like, I don't think so.
Right.
You still forgive that person because they made the act.
Correct.
Of apologizing.
Why would you want to hold the grudge?
Well,
Grudges are so heavy.
Well, we don't want to live in a society where you think you know more about what that person's inner thoughts are.
Oh, Geoff, welcome to America.
Like, we don't want...
Everybody thinks they know what's going on in everyone's head.
We have a lot of work to do.
We have a lot of work to do.
In that realm. Because
we have
a
lot of
society
work to do.
where you know more about what they're thinking than they do
Right.
isn't a healthy
No, it's insane. It's
society.
Insane. Or putting words in people's mouths and you're like, I never said that.
Right.
Well, that's what you meant. It's like,
right.
How do you know that's what was coming? That's not even the word I used. I didn't call you that. You're putting words in people's mouths that
right.
they didn't even say, and then you're canceling them based upon the verbiage that you made up in your own head.
So,
and it is bonkers. It's bonkers.
Right. So there's nothing healthy about that. And the 48-hour rule kind of, Scott's talked about this a lot. Like, it's a really important element. And I think that getting into that frame of people being able to do that helps. It's a path to not doing so much of reading other people's minds and knowing what they're thinking and saying this and that. Now, some people will view that as, dictating. You don't have a right to tell me what to think and everything.
Yep.
And that's the problem.
People are already bitching that you don't have a right to tell me to wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you. People are going to be like, don't you dare tell me that I have to forgive. And it's like, don't forgive. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. But creating this mob mentality of going after someone and even after they've apologized. Like, how do you feel about the Jimmy Kimmel blackface and Jimmy Fallon? Some people are like, nope, you should be canceled. Done.
Why? Did he apologized?
They both apologized. They feel Jimmy Kimmel took too long, and he was basically waiting too long to do it.
I think that if he apologized and it was within 48 hours...
So you would forgive him?
Yes.
Because there's the cancel culture inherently says, no, that's not enough.
What do they want? What do they want him to do?
They want those types of people to, quote, disappear, is what I've been told. Disappear, I don't know where. That could mean dead. That could mean on a different island. I don't know, but I've heard this term of like, we just want people like that to disappear.
Okay, but what back when he did it back then, what did they think when he initially did all that?
It was a comedy sketch.
So what were they thinking back then?
That it was a hilarious comedy sketch and no one called him out on it.
Why? Why didn't they then and now? Why now and not then?
Because
I asked this on Twitter the other
I
day.
know, because society changes and then we have to backpedal all the things that we did. So, for example, Netflix or Amazon pulled Gone with the Wind because it's racist. And it's like, okay, but then how do you just start rewriting everything? And then you've got the statues. I mean, you start getting, yes, there's certain things that need to take place. And then there's others that are like, whoa, you're like trying to rewrite everything.
Okay.
And then there's the camp of, I want to burn it down. And then there's the camp that's like, okay, can we like move the F on and figure out a better way to live amongst one another?
Okay. Well, first off, one other piece of extension of the 48-hour rule is what Scott's other part of it is the 20-year rule, which is in 20 years, if something happened more than 20 years ago and something comes up, that person is a different person.
Right.
Literally, that person is a different person.
Goes back to what I said. Some people believe people don't change.
Right.
And I deal with this constantly where it's like, being a men's wellness advocate, where it's like men don't change. And I'm like, what, are they just a rock?
Wait, why do somebody thinks that all men don't change?
Apparently.
Well, that's
people
not.
Change and grow and transform and do better. They make the attempt to be a better person, to say and just to dismiss someone and say, you'll never change. You are who you are. You're a horrible person. You're evil.
Okay.
And you're just like,
okay.
white.
Well, that's okay. So,
but that's what culture cancer.
Cancel culture. Cancer culture is. So it sounds like that is a big part of it. is this forgiveness element.
Act of forgiveness. Have you had to forgive someone before? Or a business where you were like, I'm
not very good at holding grudges. Because I actually...
I've never even seen you mad.
Well, no, when I've gotten mad, I'm not good at holding grudges because then I forget what I was mad about.
Geoff!
I can't remember it. No, I really do. And sometimes I try to remember it, but I just have too much going on to when you're ADD, literally ADD like me, there's so much going on in your brain that it doesn't really want to store grudges. It's not very good at storing grudges.
That's actually a nice positive thing of ADD. You always hear of the negatives. You know, my mom has ADD, and it's just oh my God, pay attention. I have friends that I'm it drives you nuts. But actually, that's a good thing. That's actually a positive of having ADD, where you can't hold a grudge because... I
try to hold grudges, but I'm not good at it. I'm just not good at holding grudges.
Everyone's like that. I'd be surprised. I'd be interested if anyone out there who has ADD feels the same way, though. I wonder if it's just...
Is anybody else bad at holding grudges?
That's a good thing.
Asking the universe?
I mean, I've had to forgive people. That doesn't mean I'm not hurt still.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to carry that load anymore. So I have to say, you know what? I'm going to just let this go and we can move forward.
Yeah, and Johan and Will, I see your questions. We'll get to you in 1 second. But yeah, and I think that that we'll let this go. So I think that the forgiveness element, now, I mean, if somebody goes out and, kills your dad or something, I think that then there's understandable, there's a whole spectrum of this, with holding grudges and stuff.
I don't know. I mean, personally, I've often thought about this. If I personally was attacked and killed, for example,
mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want this is me personally, my belief system. I would forgive that person.
Right away?
Yeah. But I
would forget. So
who's Kira?
We're forgive and forget. So we've got
I get murdered
and forget.
Geoff was like, who's Kira? I don't even know what I'm supposed to be holding a grudge about because she died. I don't know. Somehow.
It gets confusing. No,
But if someone killed my mother or my father,
right.
Okay, that's probably a better example than using myself. I would forgive that person. I have that I have that in me to do that. And whether they admit to the murder or not, but it's a personal choice I make so that I can live with myself, so that I can continue forth and not carry this past load of anger and resentment and hoif it over my shoulder and carry it around with a crutch. And I'm angry because someone murdered my mom. And it's okay, at some point, does that mean the next day? Does it mean 20 years? At what point do you forgive people?
Maybe it comes from what society, I think, is trying to get to right now, which is how to handle crime and how to deal with it, what we're doing about police. Do we try to make criminals is jail, throw them in jail for life?
Everyone knows when men and women come out of jail, it's not rehabilitation.
Right.
They have if they're a felon, they can't get a job. They don't know how to, there's no resources for anyone that comes out of jail. So it's here, you went in, rehabilitated, and then dump you out on the street. And then we're shocked when they get into trouble again. It's because they don't nobody's changing. You're being told you're a bad person and
right.
You can't change.
By sending someone who robs a convenience store to jail.
Then you get mad when he comes out and it hasn't changed, and it's the exact same cancel culture.
Yeah, what the heck is that about?
But that's the same thing where it's instead of having a dialogue between two adult human beings or a business and human beings and saying, look, I effed up, you're right, I'm listening, let's talk. And then you do that conversation, and then you move the F on. You don't do that conversation and then say, your apology's not enough. And it's that's fine. You don't partake with that person. Don't go to whatever business, but don't just write the person off and say they don't matter. Everyone matters. Everyone has a chance to grow. We all have a chance to grow.
Even if the person like kills, I mean,
100%.
Even that person, that person,
they're human beings.
I mean, that's what like
born.
Christianity says. And that's
Correct.
what religions say, right?
They're not born.
That's what
killers.
religions.
You know, I mean, I personally believe, and I'm not like, I don't go to church or anything, but it's my own personal belief that yes, people can change. I am optimistic about human beings. I have optimism for what we can do for one another and for ourselves. And I fear very strongly, I've had a lot of anxiety recently because I fear people are losing hope in humanity. And I think it's absolutely detrimental to our society. And cancel culture is that detriment, that destructive, no one can change type of attitude.
So it comes from the smaller things, though. It comes rooted in the little, when somebody says something that you don't like, politically or whatever, trying to cancel them just because the celebrity says that. It's more about forgiveness. It sounds like it's starting with little things like that and growing out from there.
Well, and then you've got the herd. Yeah, of course.
But it's the digital realm. It's social media and stuff, the scrum, because we don't have a societal, pact of how to manage online. It's just a wild west.
There's no societal pact of how to treat one another. That's a wild west.
Well, there was. That's what the laws and the Constitution and stuff.
Who the hell knows what they? Yeah, but where are the laws of code of conduct of how we treat one another?
That we don't. Yeah, we don't have that.
We are allowed to just mouth off and vomit out the most worst, vile shit to perfect strangers, and it's allowed.
So social media is shining a light on that.
What scares me, though, is that people will be like, oh, God, the world's terrible. Mm-hmm. Humanity is in the shithole. There's no chance for humanity. It's like, no. Don't dismiss humans. We are an amazing species. We have the opportunity to adapt and grow and evolve. This is an opportunity, if you take it from a positive light, to look at what's going on and change society, change the way you treat one another. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about how anyone else, like what was saying, don't worry about what anyone else is treating. How do you show up? How do you treat that person, anyone that day?
So I think that this is what you're saying. I mean, this is a huge element of it. And I think that that's something we really have to look at. What do you think about, the other element of it that I think needs to discuss as we wind down, and then we'll get to their questions. Is the social media companies and the platforms in that form of cancellation. When somebody does something politically or that disagree, there's apparently people being canceled on the social media platform.
Right.
So people are talking about going to other platforms that are being set up. Like there's a platform called Parler, Parler, one of the other.
It is Parler. I've heard of that one.
People are going to Parler, and it was a lot of conservatives, but now it's liberals going there as well. There's like the Krasensteins, who were huge Trump critics, enemies of Trump, just joined Parler today.
Interesting.
And it was very known to be more conservative, but it sounds like liberals are now getting on there now. I've been making the point on social media that if all conservatives are worried about being kicked off Twitter and they all go to Parler, well, then you're just in an echo chamber of everybody agrees with everybody.
Right.
So you have to have the other side, because Twitter's both. Otherwise, everybody's just talking to themselves. Well, so it doesn't do you any good to say, hey, everybody go to Parler, because then everybody's going to get there and they're going to be like, oh, well, we all agree. This is kind of boring. Right. Like, what do you do?
I actually wonder what that would look like as like a social experiment. Would you then start to because you're bored out of your mind, you have nothing, you're agreeing with the one topic, maybe you find one that you don't, and then it's like, or that you're like, blue is the best color, and the other guy's like, green is, because it gets so insane that you have to have conflict in your life.
So then you find ways amongst yourselves to start disagreeing.
I wonder.
Because you have to have disagreeing.
I wonder.
It splits more and more.
Yeah, I wonder if humans would be, just have to have, I know that I know people who love conflict.
Yeah.
They live in it.
Yeah.
They are the trolls of trolls
Mm-hmm.
that are like, rah, type. They love the conflict. It fuels them.
Yeah.
And I'm worried that's those people are so they're so out there. There's they're widespread that they're getting other people to join in on their crap. And it's like you've got these leader trolls, and now everyone's a troll. Everyone's being bullied.
So I guess, yeah, and how do you? That's happening naturally, but how do you, as the social media companies and such? I don't understand a lot of this part of the cancel culture, because it's just like I hear the people paranoid and talking about being canceled, but then people get canceled, and it often seems like if they've done something against the rules many, many times, then, maybe they did it to themselves. Like, that's their responsibility. However, if they didn't, it then depends what the rules are. Like how big are they violating the rules? Or did they just disagree with it, politically? Like, it's very wild, wild west as far as what's being canceled and what's not. And is the person who got canceled, did they do something wrong or did they not? And we don't have a set of any guidance or rules with that stuff, and I don't know how we.
I think it starts first with. I think social media is absolutely. There needs to be an overarching, universal set of rules.
Something. I don't know what that is,
but I think what needs to start first is a universal rules of how to treat one another.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't abide by them, fine. But there is no core of humanity and connection and love and forgiveness and empathy and compassion. That all is I don't even know where it went, but it's not here anymore.
So it starts in it starts in the morality realm, which gets subjected to with people, but of how to treat one another. You think it starts there?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
The act of forgiveness. Can people say that they actually truly, a lot of times that's lip service, I forgive you. And then the person will dredge up the past again. You're like, wait, I thought you forgave me, and now you're continuing on this dredging up the past shit. It's people need to understand what it means to forgive and then move on, and you don't have to just cancel a human being because you don't agree with their apology. You could say, you know what? I don't accept your apology, but I'm going to take my voice and my anger somewhere else because I'm not going to create a firestorm. But people love the grandstanding and the ego trip of social media, of getting on, being like, yeah, I just burned this business down. Not literally, but from a verb, from a language and type of perspective that they're able to destroy people's lives.
Well, that's if you're just trying to destroy people's lives.
Because you're so emotional, so hurt, so resentful that you just want to burn all of society down. I don't even know why. To me, it's just insane. It's insanity.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get to the questions. Okay. Thank you for the tip, Will Culpepper. That's very, very nice of you. We actually have people tipping us now. All right. So Johan Eitz, what's up, Johan? He is the greatest. I always talk to Johan. Back in the day, you could say what you want, when you want. Absolutely no one got offended. So many people get mad nowadays for anything, for no reason. People just need to put the phone down. I think it's fair. Though there are things that maybe those people were offended and they'd feel comfortable to say it out loud. Maybe those were offensive years ago and they didn't feel comfortable, And now people are getting their voice and they're getting courage because they see other people raising up and using their voice. And I support that. But there's ways to do it. There's ways to make society better in a constructive way, not burning it down.
But that's right. There needs to be something to do with that. But even if you see movies, we mentioned Gone with the Wind and them changing that. But even you look at a movie There's Something About Mary, which remember there's something about Mary where there was crude humor, very crude,
what's the
crazy,
Will
dark
Smith?
humor.
There's a Will Smith one, and what's his name? Kevin Smith, where they're
Will Smith.
Gay. They act like they're gay firefighters.
Oh.
It's I forgot the name of it.
Kevin James,
yes.
And Will Smith.
Yes.
Yeah, what was that?
That one, it is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
They say like words like that are like horrible
Really?
about gays and I'm like, holy shit. And it was supposed to be a comedy. And back when it came out, it was a comedy, but you can't even watch it without cringing because it's so awful. It's so awful, you know? And you don't hear people going after them and saying, well, that needs to come off. If that's the case, all movies.
Well, I'm sure some people are going after them.
Yeah, but and that would mean all movies and all music prior to 2018.
Get canceled. Yeah.
Just wipe it clean.
Cancel. So okay, so yeah, right. Like there's that one. There's something about Mary. Like there's movies with crude humor, but like, you know,
where does it end?
Where does that stuff end? And I'm not following. You know, there were people on Twitter that back, 10 years ago when Twitter started, 12 years ago, were making jokes like the something about Mary humor.
Right.
We're just making those type of jokes.
Right.
Now there's people, and the right likes to say the left does it, and no, you people on the right, you people do it just as much. Because I watch you. You both sides do this. Both sides are guilty. Both sides go after stuff. I see it on both sides. Okay. But people on the right go after tweets of people making there's something about Mary humor,
right,
which is crude and inappropriate,
right,
trying to cancel those people, saying, look at this humor. This guy's,
right,
a sex maniac or
right.
But he was making humor like there's something about Mary was.
And he might be not in apparently there's a rule book now of what you're allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say. And that's
on
fair.
Social media.
Or just in general, but
right,
what we need the rule book.
But back then there wasn't.
No, of course not. But not everybody has the rule book.
Humor was different back then.
Here's the thing: not everyone is evolved as you are.
Yeah.
And we seem to have like a really standard where it's like, if you're not hitting my standard of what you should be at, done, canceled. And it's like you're not so I'm sorry if someone's not as evolved as you are.
Evolved in what way?
In higher consciousness, in empathy, in all of that. And everyone's triggered by different things. Everyone thinks maybe a flirt is like seen as wildly inappropriate and abusive. I mean, things are getting really out of control.
Mm.
And you can't tell what's real anymore and what's like, because it just seems like this culture is just, well, screw it. I don't even talk anymore. Talking doesn't do anything anymore. Let's just light it up.
So I think forgiveness, which we talked about a second, is a big element, and I think the timeline element, the concept of the time filter.
I love that idea.
Is a big element.
48 hours.
Well, 48 hours and 20-year rule, which Scott Adams has, like that's one element. But I think that there's a timeline thing that I see both sides doing it. That I think it's our concept of time.
Yeah.
That's screwing us up.
Yeah.
Because time, they've now learned, if you study quantum physics, I'm kind of a nerd like that, but, if you look at quantum physics...
It's in his free time he reads quantum physics.
I read quantum physics in my free time, and like time, we have this concept that time is linear, that like there's like the past and the future.
Right.
We've learned that it's not what we thought.
Right.
It's not quite what we thought, and then it's like, if you think of it in terms of like frames of a movie, that like time going by, that everything that's happening is happening now.
Right.
Everything is right now.
Right.
Now, since our brains are grown up thinking of past and future, it's hard to wrap around what that much bigger concept is.
Right.
But because we're seeing things linearly, like the past,
right,
we're seeing the tweets, and we're mixing up past and present.
Right.
We're mixing up, and like we think that's happening now because our brains are like reboot. Like I see people doing it, and so it's this quantum image of the past, present, and future of how we think about the past that's screwing us up. Mm. So we need to look at time a little bit more. So that's I would say forgiveness, and I would say time, and it's hard for people to wrap themselves around that. But there's all time is happening all the time. That's the big thing to know. Is all time is happening.
You can wrap your head around
all the time. So good luck wrapping your head around that. Okay, so I like getting into this. Anyway, we got one more from Will. I wonder why if even someone says something accidentally or on purpose and someone is offended, why should that result in such violence? Whatever happened to arguing? Oh, people still argue.
They argue, but with no end. The end that they want is to crucify the person. And, you're right. Well, it's like, what happened to being able to disagree with someone and then still being friends with them? And having a civil conversation or a civil argument. You can have an argument.
That's what Kira and I try to do. We fight. We try to fight for you guys. We fight each other.
Right.
Because we want to show that we can still be twin brother and sister and doing this, but we can fight. And then at the end of the day, we're like, okay, all's good. Time to go
still
get a
brother and
soda
sister.
And hang out and have some trail mix.
It is possible to disagree with one's opinion, one's political stance, one's belief system, and still be respectful and friends with them. It is possible.
It's possible. Believe it or not.
Believe it or not. We have lived this long on Earth and have made friends and have partners and loved ones and family members who we didn't cancel because they believed a different political stance than we did. It is possible to agree to disagree.
Believe it or not.
It's possible.
One more. He says, or Jamie89 says, the title says cancer culture. It sure does, Jamie. That was... It's cancer culture. It's cancel culture. It's quite the dilemma.
I like cancer culture because it's actually really interesting to me because it's a play on the words, one, and two, and I didn't come up with it, so I'm not, yeah.
I came up with it accidentally.
Yeah, he came up with it accidentally, but I thought it actually, I thought he did it on purpose. I'm like, that's brilliant because it's a play on the fact that it's so widespread. And it's spreading like a wildfire. It's spreading like a cancer. And it's a cancer in our society. It's brilliant.
Yeah. So cancel culture. Cancer culture.
Cancel culture is a cancer in our society that needs cut out. Radiation, that shit.
That's correct, Jamie. It is cancer culture is cancer because I agree absolutely. Will says Occam's razor. Well, I have a lot to say about Occam's razor, but I'll say that later. Cancel culture is cancer. It sure is. Launch TV is the best. Thank you, Will. Anyway, that's what we got for you guys today on this one. Cancel culture, episode 39, Twin Sister 9.
Thank you so much for all your support. We love you guys.
Here at Launch Radio, we're the future, and the future is Launch Radio. Geoff and Kira Live.
Bye,
Peace
guys.
out.